It was in 2003 that Kinetic brought Hyosung's 250cc classic cruiser, the Aquila, to India. And now 10 years later, it's back. This time thanks to DSK motor wheels. So what does the Aquila feel like to ride in 2014? Well, we're hopping on to find out. In 10 years, the Aquila's design has changed very little. This is meant to be a classic cruiser, so the fact that its design hasn't changed in 10 years just means that it's become a rarer, more mature design. The cruiser formula is applied thoroughly. So, you have a teardrop tank, big and square fenders, wide handlebars, and everything is chromed. But there are some differences. The backrest for the pillion is gone. Also, the two individual silencers have been replaced by a modern-looking single unit. Another modern touch is the digital readout for the fuel, trip, and odometer, which sits between the well-sized analog meters. Now, for the most part, the Aquila feels well built, well finished, but there are some things that do stand out, like the switchgear, which just feels very rough and awkward. And then there are things like this clamp for the rearview mirror or the grips, which just feel a bit tacky. On the whole, the Aquila feels robust, if somewhat unpolished. But what about the mechanical package? What's also interesting is, at the heart of this motorcycle is the 75-degree V-twin 249cc motor that was there in the Aquila earlier as well. So how does that perform now? Let's take a look. Well, while the engine is the same short-stroke 75-degree V-twin, it is now fuel-injected. Power is 26.2 bhp and torque is 2.1 kilograms, which means torque has gone down and it is delivered in a more peaky manner. So at slow speeds, you do end up using the 6-speed gearbox to really get going. And the gearbox does feel soggy and notchy to use. Well, you expect a cruiser to have a lot of bottom end torque, which this motor is lacking. But once you get past the 4,500 RPM mark, it does pull with a lot of gusto. Once the engine is wound up and you hit cruising speeds, the Aquila will sit there happily for kilometers on end. But the telescopic front forks and dual rear shock absorbers do end up jostling you a bit on our roads. The suspension may not have the most pliant setup, but at least on the upside, it doesn't feel too wallowy. The seating position is typical of cruisers. So your feet are stretched ahead, hands are spread out and up for that laid-back, upright seating position. But you can have some fun on the Aquila. On some of the meandering roads that I was riding on, the Aquila was a pleasant surprise. It was quite enjoyable because I was expecting to lean into a corner and something to scrape right away, which didn't happen. It gave me a lot of leeway, so I could enjoy the bike. The steering was light, so you could even switch it through corners nicely, smoothly. The Aquila uses a 16-inch rim at the front with a 275mm disc brake, while at the rear it uses a 15-inch rim with a drum brake. Now the front brake offers good bite, has progressive feel at the levers, and one thing is there, it doesn't lock very quickly. So that makes it a little bit safer for newbie riders. Although on a long road trip, what will slow you down is the Aquila's fuel tank, which is good only for 14 liters. And the Aquila is now on sale in India by DSK Hyosung at a price tag of 2.65 lakh rupees. So what the Aquila lacks is that mechanical finesse that you would expect when you spend close to 3 lakh rupees on a motorcycle. Nonetheless, that doesn't take away from the pleasure that you get from riding and owning this motorcycle. Especially for those of you who are looking for a classic cruiser, quintessential classic cruiser, the Aquila is a great package at the smallest price that you can get in the market right now.